You know, we don't usually think of gender as having a macroeconomic effect. We tend to think of it having an effect at the micro level. And it's a very new area of research to realize that gender actually, the distribution of resources between men and women can actually have a macroeconomic impact. And in the case of Sub-Saharan Africa, a increasing women's share of resources can actually stimulate economic growth. In other words, they can be beneficial for both men and women because it can raise the economy-wide standard of living. So I think that, you know, that's one of the most important things to come out of the research on Sub-Saharan Africa. The second is that, as one of the audience mentioned, it may be that countries are constrained in terms of revenues for investing in gender equality, but many of the investments in gender equality actually are investments. That is, they produce a payback in the future, so that if they are successful in raising income and we tax income, then governments can actually recuperate their initial investment over time. So gender equality can actually create fiscal space for countries rather than being simply a drain on government resources. So I think those are the most important. And I think the third I would say is the following, especially with the increased focus at the UN on sustainability and the global focus on sustainability. We've often thought about environmental sustainability, but increasingly I think it's important for us to think about social sustainability. And by that I mean that we have to have economies that have a distribution of resources and production methods that allow social relations to be conducted in such a way that improves well-being, that improves children's well-being, and improves labor productivity over time. If we implement policies that have negative impacts, especially on children, and on investments in education, on children's health, and so forth, then that kind of investment is simply not sustainable, because a less educated, less skilled workforce in the future reduces the productivity of an economy, is a bigger drain on government expenditures, and so forth. So we want to be sure that our expenditures are sustainable. And gender equality is a mechanism to, in fact, increase that sustainability. And I'll give you another example. Many people would argue, I think many economists have argued, that the global financial crisis that began in 2008 was directly related to class inequality. So what it suggests is that inequality itself is unsustainable for a country's macroeconomic health. And what I was arguing today with my colleague Maureen Ware is that gender inequality can also be unsustainable. Gender inequality can be unsustainable, and therefore we would want to think about gender equality also as something that improves the resilience of economies over time.